araw, sa video lesson na ito, ipapaliwanag ko ang iba't ibang terms na ginagamit natin sa pag-aaral ng algebra. Bago yon, isolve muna natin ang mga sumusunod. 3 plus 2, that is 5. 7 times blank equals 35. Ano ang imomultiply natin sa 7 para magkaroon ng product na 35? That is also 5. 5 squared means 5 times 5 and that will be 25. So ang ginawa lamang natin dito ay pinerform ang basic operations to find the missing value. Ang mga sumusunod ay maaari ding isulat in this way. Instead na 3 plus 2 equals blank, we put x to represent the unknown. Number 2, instead of 7 times blank, we use 7x. And for number 3, instead of 5 squared, we put it as x squared. Usually, sanay tayo dito sa mga numerical expression or equation wherein isa lang yung nawawala at madali na natin itong masolve. But this time, I will be introducing to you some algebraic expressions na kung saan we will use x to represent the unknown or any other letters. So, what are the basic terms in algebra? Ito yung mga words na lagi nyong makikita or may encounter when we discuss algebra, just like constant, base, variable, term, exponent, literal coefficient, and variable, etc. So what is algebra? Algebra is a branch of mathematics that deals with letters and numbers. I know that you are used into numerical expressions wherein it contains numbers and 4 basic operations as well as grouping symbols, just like parentheses. This time, I will be introducing algebraic expression which contain a variable, a constant, or a combination of both. Of course, it includes the 4 operations and different grouping symbols. So, madali lang naman i-differentiate kung simple numerical expression lamang siya, that means puro numbers lang. Pero kapag meron na tong mga variable or constant or mga letters, that is now considered as algebraic expression. So, ano nga ba itong variable, constant, and other terms na ito? Here, I have 2 algebraic expressions, 2x cubed minus xy plus y squared, and 7ab plus 8. Any algebraic expressions separated by a plus or minus signs are called terms. So, ang unang-una na dapat malaman natin is yung tinatawag na terms. Ibig sabihin, hanapin lang natin yung plus and minus sign at itong plus and minus sign separates each term. That means 2x cubed is one term, xy is the second term, y squared is the third term. Dito naman, we have the first term, 7ab, while the second term is 8. So this expression has 3 terms, while this one has 2 terms. Ngayon ang ibig sabihin ng terms. Out of this, we have this word constant. A constant is a term or number with exact values. So here, we have the constant 2, 7, and 8. Ito ang tinatawag nating constant. Ibig sabihin, hindi na babago yung value niyan. So that's already fixed na 2 ang imomultiply sa x cubed, 7 ang imomultiply kay ab, at 8 lang yung value nito. This constant is also called numerical coefficient. Madali lang naman intindihin because of the word numerical. That means yung number sa expression na ito. We have a constant term which is a term without variable factor. So dito, we can see that we have 2 terms but 8 has no letter here. So that means it is a standalone term with no variable. So ano nga ba ang variable? It is any letter in the alphabet representing a known, sometimes called a literal coefficient. So, a variable is simply a letter. Pwedeng kung anumang letters sa English alphabet, but usually, ang ginagamit natin is yung X, Y, Z, or AB. Kaya naman kung mapapansin nyo, laging hinahanap ang X because X is usually the variable that we use to represent the unknown. So, the variables here are X and AB. We also have here Y. Pag nakakita kayo ng letter, ang tawag doon is the variable. So why do we use letter? Because this letter can have different values. Pwede yang mag-contain ng iba't ibang value. Pwedeng 1, 2, 3, pwedeng negative 1, 2, 3. Kaya siya din tinawag na variable because it is able to vary or change its value. Again, a variable is also called the literal coefficient. Next, we also have base and exponent in a term. So kung napansin nyo, may mga makikita tayong naka-raise to the upper right that is called the exponent. Here, the term 4x squared means 4 times x times x. It can also be written as this using dots, or this one using parentheses, or you can just simply separate yung numerical coefficient times yung literal coefficient. So another example, we have 5 squared a cubed b to the fourth. We have 5ab, these are the bases, and 2, 3, and 4 are the exponent. Remember, exponent is the number of times we use the base as a factor. If we have the base 5, we will be using it twice. If we have the base a, we will be using it 3 times. If we have the base b and we have the exponent 4, we will be using it 4 times. Ito yung expanded form ng 5 squared times a cubed times b to the fourth. Another thing to understand is that an exponent of 1 can be omitted in a term. Ibig sabihin, kung ang exponent ay 1 lang, kahit hindi nyo na siya isulat. For example here, 2 times y, it means 2 raised to 1, y raised to 1. So instead of putting 1, we can simply write it as 2y. Ganon din dito, means the same. Same thing with this, it means negative 8 raised to 1, x raised to 1. And here, any number raised to 1 is the number itself. So kung wala kayong makita na exponent yan, that automatically means the exponent is 1. So now, let's have more examples. Gamitin natin to sa pag-solve ng mga sumusunod. 5x plus 7y. Again, terms are separated by plus and minus sign. Here we have 5x and 7y. 8ab and 9. While on the third example, we have x cubed and 2yz. Next is the numerical coefficient. Numerical coefficient are also called constants because these are numbers that will not change its value. So here we have 5, 7, 8, 9. Number 3, if there is no number here, so the numerical coefficient there is automatically 1. And we have 2. Next is the literal coefficient, which we also call the variable. Here, the variables are x, y, ab. Dito, wala tayong makikitang variable or literal coefficient, so we leave it blank. And then here, we have x and y, z. Next is the constant term. Alin dito sa mga terms na to ang walang variable? So we have here 9. This is the only constant term. Okay? We also have similar and dissimilar terms. Similar terms are terms which have the same literal coefficients raised to the same powers and may differ in terms of numerical coefficient. Para malaman na similar terms, kailangan nating tumingin sa literal coefficients nito raised to the same powers. So here, we have m and m raised to 1. So that means these two are similar terms, 3m and negative 7m. Okay lang na magkaiba yung kanilang numerical coefficient. Next, negative 8mn and 9mn. So as a term, dapat ma-maintain yung exponent ng dalawang magkatabing variable. So these are similar terms. And then the third example, so as you notice, yung literal coefficient na x and y, and then yung exponent na maintain, it remains the same, 2 and then 1, so that means these are considered like terms. While dissimilar terms are terms which do not have the same literal coefficients raised to the same powers. Obvious naman, kung hindi sila magkapareho ng literal coefficient at hindi rin sila raised to the same power. Tulad nito, 9p and 9q. Although pareho ang kanilang numerical coefficient, we do not look to that. Ang tinitingnan natin is yung literal coefficient. This one is p, this one is q. They are dissimilar. Next, what we can see is that 7a, negative 5a, and negative a are similar, pero ang naiiba lang is yung negative 8b because the literal coefficient here is b. So ito lang yung dissimilar term sa kanila. Next, tingnan natin yung iba't ibang terms. We have m squared, 3mn, and 7m squared n. Again, a term must have the same literal coefficient raised to the same power. Dito, parehas naman silang may letter m, pero naiba naman yung exponent nito. So, itong tatlong to ay example ng dissimilar or unlike terms. So, let's have more examples. Let's box the similar terms and encircle the dissimilar term. Here, similar terms if they have the same literal coefficient with the same exponent. So, 3m and 7m are similar terms. Ang natitirang term is 7n, which is dissimilar na. Next, the literal coefficients a b squared. This one is also a b squared. So, we can say that these two are similar terms. Then, ang natitira ay 7 and negative 20. Pareho silang constant term at walang variable. So, 7 and 20 are still similar terms. Number 3, they must have the same literal coefficient with the same powers. So, here we have x squared y. Meron din tayo ditong x squared y. The last one is dissimilar because ang exponent na 2 ay nasa y at wala sa x. Next, number 4. Obvious naman, we have the literal coefficient, letter a. These two are similar terms, while the remaining 7x is the dissimilar term. And number 5, we still have x and y, but again, ang may exponent na 2 is yung x. So here, 5x squared y similar to 9y x squared dahil kahit magkabaliktad to, ang exponent na 2 ay nakay x pa rin at ang exponent ng y ay 1 pa rin. So here, the dissimilar term is this. I hope naintindihan na ang difference ng similar from dissimilar terms. In algebra, you will encounter different algebraic expressions, and most of them are called polynomials. A polynomial is an algebraic expression where each term is a constant, a variable, or a product of a constant and a variable. Yung variable must have a whole number or non-negative exponent. So let's write some examples. These are simply algebraic expressions. That means we can have 8 considered already as a polynomial. This one is a constant term. So we can also have a variable x. This is a term or a variable only. So polynomial na rin yan. And then we can have 8x, which is a product of constant and a variable. Another example, we can have 5x squared y, wherein the variable has a whole number exponent. So, ang exponent nito is 2, ito naman is 1. So, this is considered as a polynomial. And the last example, 8a cubed over 7. Ang ating variable has positive and a whole number exponent. So, this is still a polynomial. However, there are algebraic expressions that are not polynomials. And this is because of the following. The exponent of the variable is not a whole number. So let's give non-examples that are not polynomial. So here, if we have 5x raised to 1/2, since ang exponent ng variable is 1/2, which is not a whole number, this one is not a polynomial. Or pwede rin naman 5x raised to -3, ang exponent is negative, so therefore, hindi rin siya polynomial. Next, the variable is inside the radical sign. So, itong x raised to 1/2 is also considered as square root of x. So, if we have the expression 5 square root of x, this is already considered as non-polynomial. And the last one, the variable is in the denominator. So if we have 5 over x, here, yung x is nasa denominator is not considered as a polynomial. Kasi ang ibig sabihin din yan is 5 times x raised to -1. Again, pag polynomial, yung mga usual lang na nakikita natin for as long as ang exponent ng variable is a whole number. So, pwedeng 0, 1, 2, for as long as it is positive whole number exponent. So, a polynomial or algebraic expression can be classified depending on the number of terms. If we have an expression which has only one term, that is called monomial. Kapag 2 terms na, that's binomial. And if we have 3 terms, that's trinomial. If we have 5x only, this is considered one term. This is a monomial. Another one, 7, has no variable, which means this one is a constant term. This is still considered as monomial. Another example, 8a, b, c cubed. This one is still monomial because we only have one term. And we do not see a plus and minus sign. Next, let's have binomial. 5 minus x. We have 2 terms, 5 and x, separated by minus sign. Another one, we can have x plus 7. Still, we have 2 terms, x and 7. Another example, 8ab plus c cubed, wherein 8ab is the first term, c cubed is the second term. For as long as they are separated by the plus and minus sign, dun yung makakount kung ilang terms ba siya. And of course, trinomial means 3 terms. We can have different terms, x squared, y, z, separated by plus and minus sign. First term is x squared, second term is y, third term is z. Another one, let's have 5a squared plus b cubed plus c to the fourth. This one is considered trinomial because we have the first term 5a squared, second term b cubed, the third term is c to the fourth. The last example, 3 plus b over 2 plus c squared. This one is a trinomial wherein the first term is 3, the second term is 1/2 b, and the third term is c squared. So, madali lang nating ma-differentiate or ma-classify if it is monomial, binomial, or trinomial depending on the number of terms. If it is more than 3 terms, that is already called multinomial. That means it has multiple number of terms. Alright, so let's summarize the basic concepts and terms related to algebra. So we have discussed the definition and use of each of the following. In this algebraic expression, we have terms which is separated by the plus and minus symbol, which means we have 3 terms here, 6x squared, 5y, and 2. Another, we have what we call the constant. So constants are numbers which have exact value. So here we have 6, 5, and 2. We also call it the numerical coefficient, or ito yung mga numbers in each term. And meron din tayong special term which is called the constant term, na kung saan wala siyang katabing variable. This term alone is a constant term. The next is what we call the variable. So variables are simply the literal coefficient, or these are the letters that we use to represent the unknown, just like x and y. Okay? And we also discussed like terms and unlike terms, wherein like terms must have the same literal coefficients, just like here, m and m, with the same exponent. So they are considered like terms. Pero kahit pareho sila ng literal coefficient, basta magkaiba ang kanilang exponent, these cannot be considered as like terms. Ito yung examples ng unlike terms. And also, we define polynomials, which can be classified as monomial, binomial, and trinomial. Monomial is simply one term. Binomial means two terms, while trinomial means three terms. Okay? So, I hope na naintindihan ang mga different words or terms na ginagamit natin sa pag-aaral ng algebra. Thank you for listening.